Hey everybody, my name is Brian Markowski, and today I'm going to be talking about how Shinobu Ishihara published a set of plates to test color vision in 1916. So here's Shinobu Ishihara. He was born in Tokyo, Japan, and he lived from 1879 to 1963. He had a military background. He joined the Imperial Japanese Army in 1905 as a surgeon. He then returned to the University of Tokyo in 1908, and that's where he focused his studies in ophthalmology. He then went back into the military, and he was an instructor at the Army Medical College. And one of the areas he was focused in was battlefield ophthalmology. So it was how the field of ophthalmology could be used to create like the perfect soldier. So the purpose behind his eventual color vision test, he was asked by the Japanese military to create a color vision test and they hoped this would lead to superior soldiers. So this was just one of the ways where if you were colorblind, it was seen as a weakness and they could help weed out the weak from the strong. All of this was happening around 1914, so around World War I. There were several other color vision tests at the time. The Stilling test was probably the most popular, and Ishihara used something known as pseudo-isochromatism, which is colors appearing the same when in reality they are different. So Ishihara created shapes that could only be identified by hue in four ways. 1, 2 numbers were superimposed in the dot field. 2, a vanishing design. 3, a hidden design. And 4, a qualitative design. And those who either were not educated enough or not old enough to know the numbers could trace the patterns that they saw with their finger. And this test only screens for the red-green color deficiency, which is the most common one. It does not screen for any other ones. So the first Ishihara plate test came out in 1916, but it was only released for the military only. It wasn't released to the public. And Ishihara actually painted each plate individually with watercolor paint. In 1921, Ishihara sent copies to universities around the world trying to get it more well known. And a shortage of paper and color prints decreased production into the early 1960s because of it had to be in color print, it had to be on certain paper. So until like the 1960s, the printer technology just wasn't there at the time. So Ishihara plates are still very common today. They're sold in 3 different editions, either the 14, the 24, or the 38 plate edition. The 38 plate edition usually costs more than $200, so it's definitely not cheap. Certain professions actually require this test, including the military, law enforcement, the electricians. I think the Navy requires it, and I could definitely see it being used for electricians too, because if they can't distinguish one wire color from the other color of wire, then it could be an issue depending on what they're doing. So I actually have some personal experience with this test. I would intern for an optometrist this summer, and I actually performed this test every single patient every day as a pre-testing. So when a patient would come in, one of the first things I would do is grab the Ishihara plate book. I'm pretty sure she had the 38 plate copy, and I would just have them cover each eye, separately, and have them read 3 or 4 plates, make sure that their color vision was okay. I would say about like 95% could see the plates perfectly fine, and maybe like 2 or 3 patients over the course of the summer had difficulty. And I noticed that I'm pretty sure they were all children, and there were also a couple times where I had to have them trace it with their finger because they were too young to know like what the numbers were. And the test itself probably took about 30 seconds to a minute, so it was a very quick test. So here is an example of two plates from the book. Hopefully you can see that the one on the left right here is a 15. Trace it. And the one on the right, there are some, like, I guess I would consider trick plates throughout the book, so it's not an actual number. So the one on the right, I would always just like say it looks like a snake. And I use both of these plates throughout the summer. Thank you for listening.